Hey, all, Brad here with another quick video. This is a full Joust board set on mounting plates with the linear power supply. Customer mine Brandon. This is actually the second. He sent two sets in. So I got the first one done. The previous video, I went over that one. I'm going to do the same here. Again, these are very clean boards. Everything turned out real well. No big smoking gun on this board set. Power supply had some issues. Some caps looked like they had split and leaked, but overall everything turned out real good. And I'm going to go over it with you now. So I'm going to switch over to the bench cam, go over what we did with the boards. We'll come back, do a little gameplay, go through the diagnostic screens, and then wrap this one up. So let me switch over to the bench cam. So we'll start here with the soundboard. So again, on the mounting plate, this is the customer's mounting plate. So soundboard's got all new Molex headers, all new electrolytic caps. We did do a reproduction label there on the sound ROM. It's a 2532. Um, got a new bridge rectifier, stripped it down, cleaned it up. Got a couple electrolytics that I replaced with tantalums here. These 1 microfarad for decoupling, and there's one up here on the CPU. This is a 6808. Again, I pulled the labels, re-straightened some things out on it, but pretty much when I got it all back together, new heatsink compound under the regulator and amp, like I've gone over in other videos, everything worked quite well. Here on the linear power supply, actually, you know what? I'll power it up here. You can see the green LEDs there. They're pretty bright, so I do replace those, the red ones. Um, Back in the 80s, the green LEDs, they cost quite a bit more. They weren't nearly as bright as the reds. I feel that if the Williams engineers back then had these LEDs, they probably would have used them. Green indicates good typically, red is a problem, so I never really understood the red ones other than I think it was a cost thing at the time. So um, all new Molex headers, all new electrolytic caps. We've got a little precision 10-turn potentiometer here to dial in the 5 volts. We socketed the voltage regulators. I did replace one because it had the pin on it, was a little messed up. We've got all new bridge rectifiers. This is for the 5 volts, and I put these custom heat sinks on it that kind of match the main one that has the two power transistors for the 5 and 12 volts on it. We've got one over here. This is for the minus 5 volt bridge rectifier, and then this one here is for the 12 volt. And then we've got 18,000 microfarad axial leaded cap here, and I do some, real precise bending on those because I'm kind of OCD about these a little bit maybe. When clean the heat sinks, this board did get a simple green bath. If you check out the photos in the comments below or in the description below, you should have that. I do go through and put a new Molex connector with the polarizing key in there. You can see how it's blocked on pin 3 there. Actually, that's pin 5. One is on this side. And then it's got the Trifercon pins, and then these are all new square pin Molex headers. And then I do go through the heatsink as well. I put in new sill pads here. These conduct heat real well, but they isolate the voltage good. And I do go over them with the wire brush and clean the screws and check all the wiring on the back, and usually put an extra tie wrap here to keep the wires nice and neat and managed. So and then I do test them here. I do have a dual channel DC load here that I go through and test the 5 volts at basically double what the normal current is, and then the 12 volts at what the double the normal running current is. So um, these boards tend to run about an amp and a half on 5 and maybe half amp on the 12 regulated. So I run 3 amps on the 5 and a couple amps or 1 amp on the 12 volt typically. So this went through that both the power supply and heat sink for about 24 hours on the bench, and boy, they do get warm. This heat sink on this large BR1 bridge rectifier really dissipates some heat, so those are good. And then all the customers' parts here, there's a lot. This this is both board sets, so there's a ton of stuff here. The customer did send in some parts he bought. Some of these I don't use. These little strip Molex connectors. I like the original ones with the ramp. And some of these are for the harness side connectors, which I think the cut's probably a good idea to put in. There were some heat sinks for the rectifier and some other single turn pots that I just don't use that stuff, so I'm returning that. And then back here on the ROM board, pulled both the special chips, all 12 of the EPROMs, clean, straighten the legs. We've got new electrolytics here for the filter, for the power. We've got all new Molex headers, and then new ribbon cable. I build these in-house. And this one actually, the connector, probably, I don't know, maybe 5 or 10% where I'm unable to reuse that connector. This was one of them. It's just put a little bit of force to release the old one, and it cracked on it. So it got a brand new one. And then over here on the I/O board, new ribbon cable, new filter cap, all Nichicon, and then 2 new 10 Molex 10-pin Molex headers. And I did test this again with the Splat ROM board where I can test all 18 inputs, even though Joust doesn't use them all. And then here on the MPU, the main processing board, the battery on this one had quite a bit of damage down here. Some alkali had leaked out and done some corrosion, but it didn't really spread too far. So we've got a nice CR2450 here, now 3-volt lithium. Got everything cleaned up real nice, polished. We did get the diode in, the Zener diode I put in 4.7. We've got all new electrolytics for filter. This one, like the last board, had the vertical standing inductors, which again, there's really nothing to hold them in place, so they bend and flip-flop all around and tend to, whoop, you got my sock in the image there. They just tend to break or short out or whatever. So I put these real rigid horizontal ones in lieu of the vertical. And then Molex headers are new, all 3 positions. Labels on everything looked real good. I did reposition this one. It was kind of askew, and got everything cleaned up. So we'll switch back over to gameplay here and get this sucker fired up. And okay, so what you're seeing there on the screen is just some artifacts from my CGA to VGA converter. So here's the remote control. I'm gonna hit power, and we get our nice little carpet rug pattern there. I'm getting the remote control ready, my little PlayStation that I've got configured for Joust. So I'm gonna go ahead and coin it up, hit start. Should have had it. So I'm going to drop it in diagnostics. You can see she's playing really well. So now it tests the ROM, and then it automatically goes right into the RAM test. And again, this RAM test with carpet pattern, what it's really doing is the way these boards work is any data that's written into the RAM, there's a separate circuit that's not really under control of the CPU that reads it out and renders it on the display. So what you're seeing here is just random data being written into the RAM space. When I say random, it's random, but the CPU keeps track of what it's writing, so it writes a value there and then reads it back and makes sure it checks that it's getting the same data that it wrote out. But in terms of what you're seeing with this pattern is purely just random noise, if you will. So no RAM errors detected. We'll test the CMOS. Everything's good there. And again, booting directly into the game tells us that the CMOS and battery in that whole circuit is working well. And we'll test some sounds here. Again, I'm not sure if these are going to be, they sound okay to me, but they may be, yeah, there may be some latency on that just due to my capture device. I kind of cheaped out when I bought that capture device, how I'm sampling the audio and video here. It was on Amazon, like $25, and actually this afternoon I went back and bought a much better one, an Elgato one. They're the ones the company that makes like the Stream Deck that I'm using to switch the scenes here and stuff. So, any case, when that one comes in, hopefully we'll resolve that audio having some lag, but it's fine on the bench clearly. So here's the switch test. So again, I can move left, right. There's flap, coin. Player 1 starting again. I even tested all the player 2 stuff on the bench before. So then we'll go into, here's your grid lines where you set convergence when you're working on the monitor, and then solid red, green, and blue, and then color bars, and then it'll drop into the bookkeeping data. And then this is where you have your configuration for setting high scores and free play and all that kind of stuff. and then back to a track screen. So this board's all wrapped up. It's run for at least 24 hours on the bench here. Different boards have run for different amounts of time. Usually as I get one repaired and restored, I'll put it on with known working ones and just kind of swap out each board as I go is how I do it. And so like the ROM board and IO board have probably had 48 hours and the MPUs had 24. So any case, call this a wrap on this video. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you back on the next one.